Hi, I'm Tricia Averett.
And I'm Carolyn Wiggins.
And welcome to The Call of Success, the show where we showcase, motivate, and celebrate culture, creativity, and success of ordinary people. And we discuss real life issues, and that's what we're going to be discussing today.
I need to know what's the color. What's your color? I need to know what's your color.
Hey everybody, we're here today with National Black activist, Mr. Naji Ali. He's joining our discussion today. We're talking about the evolution of freedom for Black Americans here in America. Mr. Ali, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Aunt
Tricia.
Carolyn, it's a pleasure being on the show, and I'm just so excited to be here today.
Oh, wow. We're excited to have you here. You're here because we see you fighting for the rights of African Americans and probably everybody else. Whenever something happens, some atrocity is being committed, I know that you have your ears to the ground. You're on the grind from coast to coast, listening to the tears. I mean, watching the tears and listening to the cries of the people as they cry out for help when they've been dealt an unjust hand by our society. And sometimes that unjust hand means a loss of life. So tell me a little bit, what motivates you to get out there and fight for people that you don't even know?
Well, I think it's very important that you give back and help others, regardless of race or religion. My career in activism really began in 1988 when I was a volunteer on Reverend Jesse Jackson's historic campaign for the Democratic nomination for president. He was my mentor, and I had a chance to meet Reverend Al Sharpton in the early 90s after the Rodney King beating controversy. So I've been blessed to have mentors of national stature who've helped guide me. And one thing I've always told people is that God has shown me that anyone can help make a difference in the community.
Yes.
I'm just a young man, raised in South Central Los Angeles, who gives back to the community. And at the end of the day, I've tried to be an example to show that if I can do something to help people, anyone can do something.
I understand. So the people that you're helping, are they mainly African Americans, or we're talking about you're fighting for the civil rights of all people here in this nation?
Well, I consider myself a champion for human rights and the model of Malcolm X, El Haj Malik Shabazz, someone who I've grown to admire through reading his book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X, and being blessed to have a friendship with his children. So for me, at the end of the day, we help anyone that needs help. It doesn't matter what race you are, Black, white, Latino, Asian. It doesn't matter what religion or faith you are. But at the end of the day, because I do live in South Los Angeles, the majority of civil rights cases our group, the National Action Network, does receive are primarily African American victims of police brutality.
I understand.
So those are the cases that at the end of the day, we've been at the forefront in fighting in Los Angeles and nationwide.
Okay. Can you give us just an example of what it's like today, right now, versus 1988 for African American men and women and the unjust treatment by law enforcement and even some citizens? What is it that the inner city African Americans are really faced with? We want the nation to know, because you're somebody out there on the grind, seeing it and living it and have been a part of it. Can you tell us a little bit?
Well, I can tell you a lot, because growing up in South Central, we've seen police brutality, racial profiling by the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department firsthand. Everyone saw the Rodney King beating, a beating that was shown internationally on videotape as Rodney King was brutally beat by several officers by the LAPD. But at the end of the day, nothing's changed. We still see Black men and women being beat by the police on videotape, as well as even shot and killed by police officers nationwide, as they are also unarmed. So at the end of the day, we've seen very little changes in the way police deal with minorities. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's going to continue unless we organize and demand justice at the federal and local level to ensure that the change of culture within police departments is changed permanently and completely.
I understand. When I think back about our history, I can't help but thinking about the Emancipation Proclamation signed January 1st, 1863,
Yes.
where it freed the slaves only in what is called the rebellion states, which were the states that rebelled against the North. It did not free the slaves that were on the Indian reservations or in the bordering states that already were being managed by the North. So when you take a look at that and you think about really 1890 all the way up to 1890, the Native Americans still had slaves, and it took an act of Congress to make a few of the 5 civilized tribes release the Africans out of slavery back then. Fast forward, we're into 1964, Lyndon Johnson, he signs the Civil Rights Act, right?
Right.
And you take a look at that and you think like, are we free? I mean, are we free, do you think?
Well, when you understand the Emancipation Proclamation, I tell someone, take a look at the document before that,
Okay.
signed by the founding fathers of this country,
Okay.
the Constitution. That document was written by white folks for white folks.
Okay.
So when we fast forward to today's modern time, at the end of the day, black people may be free physically,
Okay.
but we're still in a certain bondage economically. Access to health care and quality education in our school system is substandard. Job training and lack of jobs in our community is prevalent nationwide. So at the end of the day, we may be free physically,
Right.
but the system has a mechanism in place to always keep their foot on our necks, unfortunately. Anytime we live in a country where there's more black men in prison or on parole and probation that were in slavery says something.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like freedom, is an evolution process. And, do you think the freedom of African Americans was meant to be an evolution opposed to real time? I mean, it seems like we get a break here and then 5 years later we get a little something here. And I mean, why is it divvied out to us like that?
Well, unfortunately, that's the way it's been in this country since our ancestors were brought here in slavery. At the end of the day, history's showing us anytime you want freedom, you have to fight for it. And that's how other people have gotten their freedom, is through fighting for it. So at the end of the day, we have to realize that we may not be able to physically fight, but we can make sure our children are educated properly in school, that we take care of our own communities, and then that way we are on a level of success in our own communities that our communities can become vital and sustain themselves properly.
Okay, I agree with that.
Do you have anything else that
Oh,
you
I
wanted to
really
add
do.
to that?
I mean, I remember, I wanted to know, it was troubling during the 80s and the 90s. We succumbed to drugs and especially rock cocaine. There was an epidemic. It seems like when we go too far in advancement or when we outstep our boundaries, they saturate our communities with drugs. And then all of a sudden, everybody's got a drug issue. What's your take on that?
I mean, that's true. I believe the federal government, unfortunately, does play a part in the decline of black American life throughout our history. And we can take it a step further. We don't have to go back and look at the crack cocaine epidemic of the 80s. Let's go back to the 60s when heroin was flooded through urban black Americas, and it helped destroy family life and families where many men and women and family members were hooked on heroin. A addiction that is very, very severe. Many people's families were broken up. And then when you go into the 80s, the crack cocaine epidemic was sincerely devastating because crack cocaine is a cheap high. You can spend $5, $10 on a drug that's very cheap and it's easy to use.
Right.
So unfortunately, that drug became the drug of choice throughout urban America and really helped destroy families. And our community I believe, still has not recovered from the crack cocaine epidemic of the 80s.
I agree with you. Since we're talking about the 80s, just here recently I was reading an article with regards to the Freeway Ricky case, and it talked about how during that time that a branch of the federal government opened the ports of Long Beach up for the trading of arms, sending them to the Nicaraguan Contras in exchange for raw cocaine into our country. And the raw cocaine was brought into our country and dispersed into South Central Los Angeles first for years before it saturated the rest of the entire country. When I look at that, I just think to myself, is this part of black coding? Do you remember the saying black coding back after the emancipation where, okay, you're free, but there's little guidelines, there's rules that we have in place that aren't written, that it's gonna always be there because we're gonna monitor what this freedom is like for you. Is that what we're experiencing right now? Is that what these epidemics are about?
Oh, without question. I think that's something that it's always been about that.
Okay.
When you understand Black America, it's like Malcolm X said, Black people don't own airplanes for these drugs and these weapons to come in through our country.
Right.
The government does. And they unfortunately infiltrate our community with drugs and weapons where we turn against each other and help destroy each other. So it's something that we have to be cognizant of. At the end of the day, I don't believe it's conspiracy theory. I believe it's the fact that drugs and guns are put in black neighborhoods across America to help destroy our communities and keep us unstable.
What makes us so susceptible to it? Why us? Why are we
such an easy target?
We're an easy target. It's like, what is going on with us that makes us say, you know, I want to buy rock opposed to, you know, putting my money up and investing it, or for all that matters, back in the 80s, you heard about, for the first time, black women and black men going off, leaving their babies, selling their babies. There was a big epidemic of black market baby selling back then too, where they were selling their babies to the rock men. You know, what causes us to do that? What is happening with us inside? When you have your ears to the streets and you're listening to people, what is it?
Well, I think everything in Black America starts at home.
Yeah.
The family life is so key and central to our development. And unfortunately, we've seen an increase in black fathers over the last few decades not be a part of their households, where they'll leave their wives, you know, their women to themselves, and these single mothers have to raise, you know, boys and girls on their own independently, and it's just too hard of a challenge for them to cope with without a father being in the house or a family structure. So I think that's been a key development that has harmed our, you know, families in Black American life over the last few decades.
Because of the absence of the father. And it's like a trickle-down effect.
Well, no, definitely it's a trickle-down effect. And then once that comes into play, young men need an income. And unfortunately, some of them turn to selling drugs on the street corners because they're able to get the drugs, sell them within the community at a cheaper price, and then they arm themselves to protect their territory. So that's something that we've seen over the last, 20, 30 years, a fact that crime and drugs have helped destroy Black American life in
So
urban
now
areas.
we'll fight and kill because of the dollar. We need to, now we're fighting and killing because we need to eat. So I'm gonna kill my brother here because he's on my territory and I could be making this money for my family. What happens to regular jobs? What is happening in the workforce? What are some of the things that African American men and women are hearing in the workforce when they try to get a job?
Well, I think based on the economy, it's just not African Americans that can't get a job.
Okay.
We have Latinos, you know, poor whites, and others who can't find, you know, jobs in this economy. Fortunately, President Obama, who I love and support 1,000%, he's the one who's helped bring America, you know, out of what I say was one of the worst recessions in modern times. We were headed to a depression. So I do see that there's going to be an increase in jobs, hopefully that we can find employment for ourselves. But unfortunately, until that time comes,
Right.
we have seen African Americans turn to illegal drug selling throughout different cities and different neighborhoods.
Okay. So it's,
And that's because a black man can't get a fair shake. He can't get a job. He can't get an education. He can't make the money to keep his family structure sound. I mean, we've got all these things against us. How will we ever rise up to be equal to any other culture that has the strong family unit and that makes the money? I mean, how do we step into that arena?
Well, I think mentorship is very key because at the end of the day, and I'm not here to make excuses for anyone, but the deck is stacked against black people from birth with, no jobs, failing schools, disparate health care. And at the end of the day, we have to remember we also have black lawyers,
Yes.
doctors. Many black people have been successful. We have a
but they
black
don't come
president
back. They
of
don't
the
come back
United
to the
States.
Black
community.
president.
Is that
You
what
know.
the problem
That's
is? They don't
right.
come
So-
back to the community to help the community.
Well, that's why I said mentorship is very
very
key,
important.
and we have to set a mindset in our young people.
Yeah.
No matter if your mother or father is not there in your life, you can make it in spite of them being absent, and can't make excuses
Yeah.
on why we didn't make it. We have to, find a reason to make it.
We need to be motivated. I want you to take a look at a video in a couple of minutes here. I want you to see something that I'm sure you and the rest of the world has already viewed. And I want to get your take on it and tell me really what you think about this, because Carolyn and I sat down and talked about it, and we found ourselves saying some things that was just really in left field.
It was incredible.
And I thought to myself,
Why did we
why
do
did
that?
we say that? Why did we say that? What is going on with the psychology of African Americans today to feel these certain ways? And when you take a look at this video, you're going to know what I'm talking about. I know that we have a black president now. We never thought that
We would
live
live
to
to see
see
that.
anything like that. I
Exactly.
think we probably thought maybe that could happen 300 years, into the future. So that's a miracle. But does that does that make everything equal?
Well, I don't think it
Is
makes
that us experiencing freedom in our fullness?
Well, I think at the end of the day, I'm glad we have a black president. It does show that black children can rise to the very top of work in this country. But at the end of the day, we do have to realize that for the most part, they're going to have to work hard, and everyone's not going to be the president of the United States like Barack Obama.
That's right.
So we have to let our children know you can be a successful, teacher, coach, worker in the community, in the factory. At the end of the day, it's just about trying to get a great education and work and take care of your family and your
And
community.
striving for your dreams, really.
Yes.
Yeah. I
There's a
think so.
lot of supportive organizations out there. I know that you are the founder of a really great one. Would you like to tell our audience about your organization?
Well, I have a nonprofit group that's based in South LA. It's called Project Islamic Hope. Hope stands for helping oppressed people everywhere, because we want to send a message out that we do care about our community and we do help people. We try to show the true face of Islam. I'm also the political director for Reverend Al Sharpton's group, the National Action Network LA chapter, under the leadership of our great president, Reverend K.W. Tula. So I'm involved in several organizations such as SALC and NAACP to help our community advance.
Okay. I think that's great, because it sounds like you're providing that mentorship. We have this
Support.
video that we're ready for you to take a look at it any minute now. And I'm just going to kind of prep you a little bit. It's the video of Walter Scott being beat. I want to get your thought on that, because you won't see it in this part, but I got to say that we all saw where the black police officer went next to the body and laid down an object.
Planted something.
So I'm not going to go as far as saying planted or what have you, but it didn't look good. It did not look good. So we were just wondering about the psychology of that.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, I was actually in New York City
Okay.
at Reverend Sharpton's National Action Network convention when the Walter Scott shooting happened.
We're going to roll the clip and take a look at it. So we're looking at the officer approaching him right now.
in his car.
Yeah, but even with the stop, just so you know the backstory, he stopped him for a tail light that was out
That's correct.
in broad daylight on a Saturday, morning.
Yes.
Just Walter Scott running from the officer and being shot in the back,
In the back.
murdered by the officer.
Now here's the black cop
Yeah.
right now.
And actually, I think the black cop
Picking around the body.
is, like you said, picking around the body.
Exactly.
And
I mean,
I
who
just
does
know
that?
from watching the tape, and we talked about this in New York at the National Action Network Convention, the black officer, he should be fired
Okay.
and brought to justice as well, because he lied on the police report that
Okay.
he gave Walter Scott aid and tried
that
to
too.
do CPR and help, restore his life. We know those are lies. So at the end of the day, whether you're black cop, white cop, Latino
Doesn't
cop,
matter.
it doesn't matter. If you do wrong, you should be brought to
Wrong
justice.
is wrong. They shot that man in the back.
So let me just
He
say
wasn't
this.
armed.
Let me say this before we get all rallied up, okay? Because we were looking at that tape, and my partner here says, she goes, but it isn't cut and dry. It's not black and white. She says, he ran. And so another gentleman said, well, yeah, but just because he ran doesn't mean that he gets to be shot in the back. So my question to you, like many blacks, that we do this, why do we do this? Why is it that we're just like, oh, well, he did something. He shouldn't have ran. Or Rodney King, they told him to stay down there, and he kept trying to get up. Why do we go there?
Because they've been brainwashed by white supremacy.
Okay.
At the end of the day, I don't make excuses for any black people if they
Okay.
do wrong. But I'm not going to make excuses for cops to murder them, for cops to
Absolutely.
shoot and kill them, and the cops get to play judge, jury, and executioner. That's not their role. Your role is to apprehend someone who may have done something wrong and bring them to justice safely, not kill them.
We want to continue this discussion
Oh,
with you
yes.
because it's such a big discussion,
Just
and you're
getting
so
started.
knowledgeable, and we're just getting started. We're ending our show, and at the end of the show, we do a little celebration, and it's very special, and we're here celebrating your success. And because success to us is someone that lives out their dream. And obviously, this is your dream. You talked to us and you told us from 1988 to present, this is what you've been doing. And so we know that you're passionate about it, and you inspire us and you inspire the rest of this country. And we just want to salute you a bit. And so Carolyn does the ceremony, and we're going to get started.
Yes.
Okay.
I have the Color of Success box of all the colors. Now, your journey has a color, an essence for your journey. And we have all kinds of markers and pencils, and we'd like you to take any color that represents your journey, and right behind you, we've got a canvas. You can write whatever you'd like to on it. If you want to draw a
could
circle,
scribble.
sign your name, whatever, because we would love to have a piece of you on our canvas there.
To share with us.
To share with us.
That way we
Well,
always keep you.
You can never go wrong with black.
Okay.
You can never go wrong.
Go
with
ahead.
choose
Do
black.
your thing
And
with
while
black.
you're doing that, another part of the celebration is
A little
we'll
toast.
have a toast for your success. And by the time you get back here, I'll have it poured.
All right. Don Perignon.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It is such an honor to have you here. Such an honor. We're looking forward to having you back too.
I can't wait.
Oh, excellent.
Love.
Excellent.
What does black mean to you? What does the color black symbolize to you in your journey to success? Because really what the color represents is the essence of your spirit as you've traveled your journey. And so you pick black, meaning that today this is where you are. So what does it symbolize?
I think for black, it symbolizes black people.
Okay.
We're beautiful.
Yes.
We're loving. We're creative.
Yeah.
We're the founders, of civilization.
Okay.
So for me, I look at black as something positive, something good.
Okay.
So I always say you can never go wrong by choosing black.
Okay, let's open this.
I need to get another opener.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
1 second.
Here,
do
I'll hold
not
it for
need
you.
this. Thank you.
All righty.
So what did you write on the board?
I wrote love.
He's sharing all his
Black
love with
love.
us.
I think at the end of the day, as long as we have black love, we're going to be okay as a community.
That's all that matters.
So I think that's the most important thing, is that we love each other, love our black families.
And take care of one another.
Oh,
really.
without question, I think that's very key.
Yeah.
Because if we can't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anyone or help anyone else.
That's okay. Well, we can
Cannot
toast
find
later.
the opener. We
That's
can't.
fine.
That's fine.
Thank you
That's
so
fine.
much.
Thank you.
Yes. I appreciate that, and you're absolutely right about there, that we have to be able to take care of ourselves. We have to be our brother's keeper to get through this.
Exactly.
And when you come back, we really want to sit down and talk about some strategies, and hopefully we can have someone else here with you. We can just have a long talk. How do we strategize from here? How do we accomplish what you're talking about? How do we get the black man back in the family? How do we stop making ourselves so susceptible to drug usage, you know, the whole bit? What do we do? How do we get money into the black community and educate us well enough to know what to do with the money? President Obama, he is president now. Who knows what he may do at the end of his term in office? I mean, heck, who knows? Maybe he'll funnel some money into the black communities.
And you can
That'll
take
be
this
great.
bottle of Don Perignon with you. And we'll have
you.
another bottle when you come back.
All right. Thank you very much.
And
so
yeah,
much.
yeah. You weren't supposed to show everybody it's just sparkling apple cider.
Oh my God.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
joining.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone. I'm Tricia Averett.
And I'm Carolyn Wiggins.
Until next time, this is The Color of Success. It was so
All right.
great
Thank you.
having you.
I need to know what's the color.